You are listening to another AlwaysMoto production. The AlwaysMoto Podcast with your host, David Hogan. We talk moto events from around the world. All the injuries, all the training ins and outs, the bikes, parts and gear inspections. The results, we interview your favourite riders. It's the AlwaysMoto Podcast. We occasionally have some coarse language and the odd stuff up along the way. If you don't like it or you don't agree with us, turn it off right now.
I'd like to remind you that he is not a doctor.
That's right, Moto fans. I'm not a doctor, but I am a physiotherapist, and this is episode 142 of the AlwaysMoto Podcast, proudly presented by Moto Australia and TechnicMotorsport.com. I'm your host, David Hogan, the physiotherapist who knows the injuries and fitness needs of our sport of motocross and supercross. And we go through everything and anything moto here on the show because everything is always moto here on the AlwaysMoto network. This week's show, we are reviewing the opening round of the Pro Motocross from the AMA at Parla. We're going to catch up with the surprise packet from that round as well. The Aussie, Mason Semmens, who got 17th outright in the 450 class at his first attempt. We're going to review as well the Triathlon round of the AusProMX, and we catch up with Penrite Racing Empire Kawasaki Motorsport rider Rhys Budd. We've also got our usual segment, so plenty on this week's show. Hey Moto fans, this episode it is brought to you by Moto Australia, the ultimate gear and protection solution for riders seeking top-notch safety and style. From head to toe, Moto has you covered with innovative helmets, goggles, body armour and more. Head over to leadmoto.com.au and gear up for your next ride. Don't forget our other supporters, TechnicMotorsport.com, PivotPegs.com, Competitive Edge Performance, and Tech 167 3D Printing for their show support. And you'll hear about these shows throughout our podcast here in different shows as we go. But as always, we need your support direct of the show here. We have our AlwaysMoto t-shirts available. They are $25 plus postage and handling. Email us at info@alwaysmoto.com. Put t-shirt order in the subject line and we'll get in touch regarding payment via PayPal and delivery details. Speaking of PayPal, maybe you don't want a shirt, but you want to support the show, you can donate direct via that PayPal account. Now, to find all our supporters, some discount codes and the links to the PayPal, etc., you can follow the links in our show notes or in the bio on our social pages. All right, let's get into this show.
I'm Caleb Gourlay and you're listening to the AlwaysMoto Podcast.
All right, let's get into this thing. We're going to be joined here at the start of the show for our General Talk segment by the AlwaysMoto contractor, Ben Grinley. How are we doing, Ben?
I'm all right. How are we going, Dave?
Yeah, good. Sort of still a little bit wet in this area, but hopefully we can make it out to the Maitland this weekend for the state titles, but we'll have to see. There's still some road closures in this area, so bit of a fun time in the Hunter area for us, but you're a lot drier down there and, just watching some racing from home, I gather, mate.
Oh, it's been, I think we've had some rain Thursday, Friday, and then yesterday and today, and it feels like it's could be snowing here. It was that cold here today. So, it's good weather to stay inside and watch all the racing we had on Sunday. Yeah, there was plenty of
racing and action as part of that as well that was occurring. But obviously it started out early Sunday morning with the AMA Pro Motocross opener from Parla. We got to see the return of Jett, Eli, Hunter, Prado, amongst about 20 other people that seemed coming back from injury to start the series there. But as we predicted, Benny, Jett and Haiden took the honours, both going 1-1 across their classes. Jett remains undefeated, and if I caught it right on the broadcast, has not even had a lap not at the front of the field across all of his 450 motos. That's some sort of record.
Yeah, I think I heard the same thing, but we said our thoughts about those two, and Jett is just unbelievable. We thought that it could happen, but you just never know how he's feeling and how he comes back. But yeah, just incredible.
It's There's got to be something with him just in his genetic makeup that assists this to occur in terms of the recovery speed. Obviously, his age is very helpful at this point for him because that's going to speed this up. But there's got to be something with him that he just, some people recover quickly and easily and can tolerate pain and just can block these sorts of things out and just, go into a zone where they go, right, I need to do 10 reps, I'll just do 20 reps, and actually progress the recovery along faster. Because watching him on the weekend, I even tried to see if he was like leaving his leg, the right foot on the peg longer to try and not dab it. And, if he was sitting down more as he got maybe tighter throughout the moto, I didn't notice any of that. Like, I know James Stewart on the coverage was saying, he thinks he's sitting down more. I didn't really think that was the case. I felt that the track needed that in some spots for him just to, be in control. But yeah, there's just, you said it right, man. It's unbelievable. Like, I blown away. I got no words to describe what he did. And the fact that he did it Moto 2 in front of Eli Tomac, who one also is coming back from injury, but a lot lesser injury and with a lot more prep between when he got injured and coming to the motocross, doing riding. Eli was pretty impressive too, but he couldn't get past, like many others, he couldn't get a wheel in front of Jett Lawrence.
Yeah, and you got to think, we've heard how many hours Jett, spent in the rehab room and getting it done and just the determination. Although that second moto, I was on the edge of the seat. I wasn't sure how that was going to end, but in the end, it's just to go and win again 1-1. That the confidence that will give him, but the emotion that it brought out in him at the end, as we all saw on the coverage. Like I said, it's just incredible.
Well, that was nice to see too, like that it meant something, wasn't just any other race, and that it did mean something that he'd achieved that. So that was awesome to see. But I'll touch on something here quickly because you sort of touched on it as well, but about the hours in the rehab. There was a comment that came up on X that I sort of got involved with where a guy commented that, he had an ACL injury a week or two before Jett did, and that, he still can barely walk on it. But Jett's out here, doing motos at the front of a pro field. And I was like, that's purely the difference from a general punter being able to go once or twice a week for an hour or two to physio versus a pro athlete going 5 to 6 hours a day for 6 days a week. Like the difference in spend in recovery, rehab, and focus in rehab and recovery is vastly different when you're talking general punter to an athlete. But I feel like you've even stepped up again when you're talking about Jett or even Hunter in terms of recovery. And I heard Hunter talking about it in one of the post-race interviews, I think it was in the press conference, about the money that they'd invested in, infrared machines and hyperbaric chambers and all these sorts of things that they've got access to try and speed this up. And obviously it's working.
Yeah, and you would have talked about it in the emergency department, a few times, I'd say. But this new technology that they're using for the ACL that we've heard of, obviously it's helping as well. But just the different disciplines in what people have an ACL, like AFL, NRL, netball, anything like that. It's 12 months. 3 months to come back and go 1-1. It just shows how much they've, time and money they've spent to get, all things right and back to, as close as they can get.
Yeah, that's a nice point. Like you pointed out, a massive difference in recovery time frame from general sports. And obviously there's a big difference in terms of the physical load that's going to go through in terms of running and cutting activities that you do sidestep when you're in those sports, but that you don't do in a moto. But you've got other things that go into it, slapping your foot down mid-corner into a rut to try and hold yourself up at 20, 30, whatever kilometers, miles an hour that you're going through the corner at. So, yeah, it's impressive. But, yeah, let's quickly touch into then, like Eli's ride as well, coming back off the injury. I thought he looked as good as he's looked on that Yamaha in a national, particularly at the opening round. But I was kind of shocked that he fell into what I would describe as Chase Sexton's role when Jett's out front in a moto, where he's there, he looks like he could pass him, but he just can't.
And that's Jett's. That's just how he races. It's like he makes them think that they're close and there's a possibility, and then I think what do we have, 4 laps to go or something like that, and went from 2 seconds to 10, 11 seconds at the end, and we've seen it so many times. Supercross, outdoors, like everything. It's just they fall into that that mindset that they're going to get him, and then it just gets blown away.
Did you think that Eli looked like Eli Butt? Like, you don't think there was any sort of restrictions or limitations there? Because I didn't.
No, I don't think so. He's still, got that dog in him, I guess.
Oh, God, don't use that saying. Jeez.
I saw that comment plenty of times over the weekend.
Oh, man. That's such an American thing at the moment. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, there was no, he looked fine to me.
Yeah, and then third place on the podium overall was Hunter Lawrence, and then he just missed out on a 3-3 day, but he went 3-4 after a mistake on the last lap, gave the position to Aaron Plessinger in that second moto. But considering Hunter's usually the one that's a little bit slower, a little bit more, taking his time with recovery as well, just because he's had a lot of injuries over his career, I felt Hunter looked better than I expected, like, for where he's at. I know his injury wasn't as bad as Jett's or Eli's. He was probably a bit more than Eli's, but I felt he looked actually really good. And I don't know what it was, but yeah, he was better than I expected for Hunter. And I don't know why that is, but I just feel like he was a lot better.
Well, he's probably had, out of the top two, he's probably had the most time on the bike, I guess, because I think he was back a bit earlier than both Jett and Eli, but it's just good for us to see 1 and 3. We'll take that any day of the week. Yeah,
of course, and obviously just having those guys. Well, one, it's the first time we've had, apart from Dean Wilson on those last couple of rounds, but there was a long chunk there where there was no HRC 450 out on track because both of them went out. I think, what was that, Tampa, wasn't it, that Hunter went out, and Jett was the week before in Glendale, so it's good to see both Aussie boys back and giving us something to cheer for, but also from a Honda point of view to have them back out on track. So, that was awesome to see. But let's get into a couple of riders here that maybe should have done a lot better or at least had a bit different day. And let's start with Cooper Webb here. But goddamn, he's lucky that he had a mechanical the first week after he secured a Supercross championship, and that didn't happen with the motor that was in that last bike for Salt Lake, because, man, things could have been different.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have been too nice, during Supercross. But he also, it's very rare that a star bike has a malfunction like that. But, 37 and 7, I guess, to 13th overall. It's not great, but it's better than he could have got no points or anything at all. Yeah, well, I guess that he got something, but that video was pretty funny when he pulled up and he's giving the crowd the slit, the cut the throat sort of thing, like it's dead. That was Cooper obviously in a different mindset at this point in the season than he was a couple of weeks ago when he was under the pressure of trying to hold on to the championship for the Supercross title. So, we'll see what Cooper can do. He'll be back for next week this week at Hangtown. Hopefully the bike's in a bit better state. Maybe, and I did hear this in a post-race interview, that he was running a cable clutch on the Yamaha for the first time this season. He apparently runs hydraulic setup for Supercross. So that was interesting. Whether that had anything to do with it or not, we'll find out if he's back on a hydraulic for this weekend in Hangtown or not. But just a little interesting tidbit that came across some of the other media sources there. So see what happens with Cooper. The other one we have to mention, and kind of bemused and just downright confused, it's Chase Sexton. What an interesting, weird, unbelievable first,
3 laps that he lasted? Like, goggles get thrown on lap 1. When was the last time you saw that happen in a dry race? And then just goes over the bars from what is suspected to be a missed gear, but also I'm going to blame part of it his suspension setup, because the rear end of that thing was lower than a hardtail Harley. And wow, did that just the race was just odd.
Do we even talk about it?
Well,
I joked in our group chat that that number 1 plate's pretty heavy and it drove him straight into the ground. But it's really unbelievable. You see all through Supercross, and everyone knows these little mistakes here and there, and it ended up costing him the Supercross title. And then first race, he comes out and does that. It's just so Chase Sexton.
Well, we said this too last week on the podcast, and feel like some validation here is worth giving to both of us. But I think we said about the fact that, like, he was the one that had momentum coming into this season, because everybody else that was sort of title contenders and who ended up on the podium were the injured riders that were coming off the couch to come back into this series. Chase had the momentum. He'd been winning races. He's been fit. He's been healthy. There's been no concerns with his bike setup for the last few rounds of Supercross. And yet the only thing we said was, well, the only thing that can possibly throw him off is the fact that Jett's back on the start line. And it seems like that was the only catalyst that kicked this all off, because it went sideways faster than anybody could have thought of. Like, there's no way that you can't say that Jett being on the start line, hole shotting and leading, didn't play any factor into this in Chase Sexton's mind about how he approached these opening few bits, and maybe that little bit of dirt or whatever that was bouncing around in his goggles after getting hit in the face or with a rock or some dirt, some roost, just, mentally just drove him off the cliff.
Well, you got to think, like we said, Jett and the rest of everyone being on the line, but then the goggles situation is a weird one. Like you said, there's not many times, if any, I could think of anyone throwing their goggles off on the first lap. And then, to throw another curveball, falling off like he did, and another Alpine Stars
helmet visor
going missing. Just the whole thing. How does he now respond this week? That's going to be interesting. If he's injured, if he's not, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, well, we'll touch on that part in the emergency department later. But basically, the update is we don't know right now. Like, it's early in the week for us. It's only Monday in the US as we're recording this, so he wouldn't have even got to any medical response reports or anything just yet. Like, he would have seen them, but in terms of knowing what's going on, possibly not just yet. So I assume he'll be back, because that wasn't that big of a hit, but you just never know. This is weird things that can occur with anyone with an injury, but particularly with Chase Sexton. You just don't know. So we'll see. We'll find that one out later in the week. All right, so that's the 450 class that we'll touch on, 250 side of things. And purely this class is just down to Haiden Deegan, and will he just manage this thing through, because he doesn't seem to have to do anything of great nature to get himself to the front. Even some mid-pack starts weren't really, well, maybe a bit better than mid-pack, but they weren't great starts, and he was at the front, reasonably soon in the moto and just slowly creeping away and got 2 comfortable wins.
Yeah, I think he's just in that mindset too. Like, he knows, okay, start's not great, but I know that I've got these guys covered. He did it in Supercross. He did it last year in the outdoors. It's just his mindset that, like, all right, they're there, let's go get them. They're not. He's not worried, and like we sort of touched on last week, no one wants to or can sort of put up a fight. There's just, he just comes up to them and blasts on by.
Well, interesting post-race press conference comments as well from Deegan was that he didn't feel he needed to go to that 20-second or more gap at the front. He was just pacing the guy in second and just keeping the gap that he sort of built up early and just paced it. So he's got a different approach potentially this year, like he's touching on. So that's interesting. And he also mentioned that his goal is basically to get the 3 championships, as in the West Coast Supercross, the Pro Motocross, and the Super Motocross this year in 1 year. So he's obviously playing a longer game in 2025 than maybe he did in previous seasons, where he maybe let the emotions get the best of him at some other times. But yeah, things look different for Haiden Deegan. So I dare say we're going to see much of the same from him next week and each week here on out, unless there's some sort of major bike issue or first turn crash. Things might get a bit more wild, but it seems like it's just a bit calmer for him in 2025. So we'll see how that plays out. But second place, Joe Shimoda. Bit of a turn-up ride for Joe after a lackluster, finger-breaking Supercross season.
Yeah, and if you had told me that he would go 2-2, I would have told you no way.
Yeah.
Bit surprising. I didn't expect it at all. But it just shows, he did do well in that first round of Supercross until the finger happened. So yeah, hopefully we see more. And he did give Deegan a bit of a biff at one of the rounds. I can't remember which round it was, but if there's a chance and they get close, then I could see Joe dishing it out again. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if he can get on that, same level, mid-race or whatever with Deegan and show some of that Supercross aggression in the outdoors, because that would be something to see from Joe. But yeah, pleasantly surprised to see Joe back towards the front of the field. Third place, Tom Vial. Got to say, I'm still waiting for the MXGP Vial to come out in Pro Motocross, because it hasn't been here since he's moved here, and this is season number 3. So still looking for that whole shot Vial and that race winner Vial from MotoGP. I don't know if you're looking for the same, but I just feel like hasn't been here yet.
And it's the same thing, with Jorge Prado. We've all said it. They just have to get used to all the change. I know, he's already had seasons to get used to it compared to Prado, but it's just so different in the US compared to Europe. And they just, I don't know, some can do it and some can't. But I'd say, surely we see something from him this year.
Yeah, hopefully. But I don't know. Maybe it's just Parlo and he doesn't gel with it, but I just don't see it after that weekend that he put together, because he was near the front, up the front, and then just fading his way back at points. So, yeah, anyway, let's see what he does over the rest of the season, but I just don't see him having the Deegan, pace to take him down and battle for that championship. Maybe he does, but right now I don't see it. The missing riders in 250. Jeremy Martin was back for Star Racing Yamaha, and I'm not sure exactly what he got, but it wasn't great for a 2-time national champ. But the only saving grace is maybe the fact he was on the bike only a couple of weeks ago. But in saying that probably doesn't matter to Bobby Reagan of Star Racing Yamaha, because he's probably fired people for less.
Yeah, well, he got 20 and 20 for 21st overall.
He did get points in there, because when I saw him a couple of times, he was in the back of the 20s, it was sort of mid-moto. So obviously he's worked his way forward. Fitness probably helped him out there, but yeah, damn, that's not good still. Yeah,
I think he just needs a few weeks. And you would hope to see him up there, not having much time on the bike. But, Eddie's also Jeremy Martin, so he does know how to ride. But you just got to get back in that groove after, being off the bike for so long, and whether, he can't afford another concussion, that's for sure.
No.
And for that track, that just, he might have been at a limit where he didn't want to push any further.
Well, look, I'm going to say if you don't see signs of life from him, and by that I mean like top 10s by High Point, I don't see him making out the season with Bobby Reagan at the helm there. So let's just see how it goes, but hopefully they give him the time to build into that and he can, move past. Maybe there's a mental block in terms of the concussion side of things in there, just being a bit cautious at the moment. We'll see, but let's hope he doesn't get fired, because that's what I feel like is coming for him if he doesn't pull a few good results here shortly. But speaking of poor results, Levi Kitchen, just obviously there was a bike-induced chain derailment. that doesn't help this, but he wasn't up the front battling when it derailed, so it was not going good in either moto.
No, and he's won a few overalls before, but I think he's a lot better at Supercross than motocross. But yeah, to have an injury and come back and go 10, and then obviously the 38 with the chain. 16th's not too bad, but it's also not great for where we know he can be.
Yeah, well, he should be championship battling. Like last year at Parla, he almost won the moto. So, yeah, this is a very different opening round for Levi Kitchen compared to last year. Now, you wanted to bring up Julien Beaumer.
Well, last week I said he wasn't on your list, and I said, did you forget about him or what? And you were like, no, I don't think he's there yet. Some good starts. He was up there, but yes, he did fade. But I think a 5th overall maybe warrants bringing him up last week.
Nah, it doesn't warrant it at all. Look, it wasn't. I was impressed. I didn't expect him to see him up there battling and leading laps and stuff. So that was impressive. But after we get past Thunder Valley, if he's still doing it, then I'll give him some credit, because that's when I think he's going to start to have those other struggles that he has when the tracks. He's known for being that hard-packed, shitty dirt type of rider. Can he do it on soft tracks, rutted tracks? If he's doing it, if he's getting top 5s later in the season at a High Point, a Millville, or a Budds Creek or something, yeah, let's heap the praise on him, because he will have improved a lot to do that.
All right, we'll go with that. We'll see.
Yep, sounds good.
Keep an eye.
All right, so last week we picked Jett and Haiden for Parla wins. Do we pick any differently for Hangtown, or we just move on?
No, I think we just move on.
Yep, good. Thank you. All right, let's moving on. They're the picks for everybody, people. We're going to leave them. I think maybe we pencil them in for the rest of the season, and we'll just advise you if it changes, if something happens before that. But otherwise, just assume that that's who it's going to be.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch gears over to the Australian side of things. The AusProMX happened at, and I can't say this right, I get stuck on it every time, but Traralgon, I think it's pronounced, but I don't know for sure. But it was round 4. We're back in action. It was a soft, sandy sort of soil down there, which was awesome to see. A bit of a different type of terrain than we have necessarily across all of the rounds here. But the venue was new, well, not brand new, but it'd been on the season, I heard, back in the 90s. But it looked really good on the coverage that I saw. It seemed like the racers enjoyed the track. It had opportunities for passing. I feel like it was a good round, generally speaking.
If you had to choose between Parla and that, which one would you race?
Oh, look, I'm a little biased, but I'm probably going to say Parla anyway, just because it's in America. And it's the AMA. Like, come on.
Yeah, but both of those tracks were, they were gnarly, both tracks. But yeah, good racing on both. So very wet in one section of that track, but good racing in pretty much all the classes.
Yeah, no, it was really good. Obviously, we had, I think there was the women's race, there was the MX3, we had the 65 KTM Futures, and obviously MX2 and MX1. So a big program going on down there for that round of the AusPro. But look, the main 2 classes, the MX1, the MX2, we're starting to very much see a domination of 2 particular riders in each class from the 2 same teams going at it. And that's the Honda team versus the CDR Yamaha team. And in the MX1 class, it's Beaton versus Webster. That is all that is happening for me in this series. Yes, we've got some other guys battling each other in lower positions, but they are not, unfortunately for them, in the same ballpark as Webster and Beaton when it comes to the speed and positioning on the track come end of the motos. They are just not anywhere to be seen. I think we're over a minute in space between first and third, essentially, by the end of the motos this weekend. So, yeah, look, it's Webster and Beaton.
Yeah, they're a bit like Jett. The speed and the performance that those two are putting out is just unbelievable to watch, especially on those tracks. That track on the weekend was, like I said just before, just absolutely gnarly. I would hate to be riding it, but, they just, the speed is crazy. But it just seems to be between those two, whoever gets the lead in either moto seems to be able to hold it out, and the other one, has to chase. But for Webster, I think, that first moto, he started, I think, 4th or 5th and then caught up, but obviously finished second to then win the second moto is, you're definitely getting your money worth if you're buying tickets to go and watch.
Yeah, from those two guys going at it, and then the two guys in MX2 that we'll get to as well. Yeah, you're getting your admission price for sure and entertainment watching those guys. So that's an awesome part of it. But you're right in terms of the result side of things, with Webster being that 13 points down after that DNF at Wonthaggi Moto 2. I feel like there's some urgency starting to creep into him now, because after this weekend, the points, as much as he got the overall, the points were a wash. They went 1-2-2-1. And so the 13-point gap remains, and we only have 4 rounds left. And if they're going to go essentially 1-2-2-1, for the rest of the rounds, which seems highly likely without other mechanical or, crash-induced situations, I don't know if Webster's going to be able to get these points back. He made a good run between round 2 and round 3 to sort of claw in a few of those points. But yeah, one race where he doesn't get the first place to get that 3-point gap up, they just sit there with the points being the same.
Yeah, and I mean, he's very lucky that he didn't get injured in that crazy crash.
That was a massive crash down in Wonthaggi.
Yeah, at that first round in Wonthaggi, that crash could have easily ended the championship. So I think he'll take, being those few points behind, but he's got a big job.
Yeah, it definitely does. But look, they've got 4 weeks between now. I think it is 4 weeks between now and the next round. And I believe that's the Canberra round. So that's been switched over. It's from Nowra. There's plenty of things that can happen in this time. Our series here in Australia is not like the AMA, where they basically go week to week with only the odd week off here or there. Ours has big chunks of time between rounds, so they go and do other races. They've got plenty of time for training and practice crashes and whatnot. So, look, things can change, but at this stage, if those two stay fit and healthy, it's going to be a battle to the death, essentially, much like it was last year. So we'll have to see. But I guess the thing is, whether any of them, in terms of Nathan Crawford, Luke Cloud obviously had a concussion in the Super Pole, but whether he can be recovered, and guys like those two can bridge that gap and maybe throw themselves in the mix for some parts of these races, that's an interesting question to see, because otherwise, if they can't, well, I don't know what they're going to do to bridge that gap for next year, because it ain't going to probably get much easier with the two of them, Webster and Beaton, basically, as far as I know, being back going with the same teams in the same situation again. So
yeah, well, it's going to be, it's like, what do you call it? Not a mirror image, but yeah, just the same setup, same teams. You'd find it pretty hard to, if you're a 450 rider, knowing that you're going into the season and you've got to deal with those two again. But next round is Warwick in Queensland.
Oh, it is too. Sorry, I'm a round out. Yep.
Yeah, so that's the Canberra one's after that, which hopefully we'll be getting to. So that'll be good, because I've never actually been to a ProMX race before.
Supercross only program over here for the AlwaysMoto Contractor.
Yes, so this hopefully we've still got those two going at it by the time Canberra rolls around.
Now, on the 250 side of things, similar sort of scenario here. Brody Conley on the Honda, Ryder Kingsford on the Monster Energy Yamaha. They are doing very similar things here, 1-2-2-1s throughout this, and obviously there's been a few penalties thrown in here that I just can't believe how many penalties are being thrown into this class recently, with lots of different things in terms of course cutting and jumping on yellow flags and whatnot. But Conley and Kingsford are out front not necessarily the same sort of dominance over the rest of the field, but they are pretty dominant at the front of this pack. And yeah, it's coming down to just a battle between the two. There's currently 10 points difference between these two at the top of the MX2 series.
Yeah, one slip up and that gap closes, and it's a lot tighter, and then they obviously will push a lot harder between the two of them. The blokes behind aren't, they're not as far behind, like you said, as the 450 class, but both classes are just really good at the moment. Yeah,
it's awesome to see the level of our series, at least in those front two in each class, is exceptional. And I think both of those, like these four guys, wouldn't be out of the top 10 in an AMA race at this point. Like they are, doing really well. So the state of Australian motocross is doing pretty good at the moment, particularly when you've got someone like Mason Semmens going over to the AMA and having one round between his off-road races and getting points in it too. So we've got plenty of depth going around.
Yeah, and that's good to see. You've got Jett and Hunter there, and we all cheer on them. But when there's another Aussie to watch, then your eyes sort of wander down the totem pole to see where they are.
Yeah, exactly. So no, look, awesome weekend of racing. Obviously, plenty more coming. In the weeks preceding here. So yeah, look, we'll have more chats about these obviously over the next few weeks. Benny, anything else to add to these sections here, or are we going to head to a break?
No, I think we're ready for a break.
All right, mate. We'll talk to you again on the next podcast. Let's take a break on the Always Moto podcast.
Hey, it's Josh Cartwright, and you're listening to Always Moto Podcast.
All right, guys and girls, we are back. Let's get into the emergency department for this week. Now, obviously, Parla has just been done. We're very early in the week compared to normal. So we're going to give you the injury info that we know, probably talk a little bit more about the things that happened over the weekend in terms of coming back and how the performance from injury. And you're going to have to watch the YouTube later in the week to find out the ins and outs because it's too early to know right now. The emergency department. All the injuries, all the gory details, and when they'll be back on track. It's the list you really don't want to be on. No, and if you've joined this list after one round of motocross, things aren't looking great for you. All right, things to note in terms of, well, actually, before we get to that, let's talk suspension. If suspension service, setup, and tuning is your business, you want to work with quality components so you can trust that your clients will have zero issues with your work. Technic Motorsport in Sydney has designed its own spring products for 2 decades. They now have a single source of CNC wound springs from the Netherlands that are produced under ISO 2001 quality control. There are over 1,500 Technic Moto springs that cover late model motocross and off-road bikes, and they're now in stock with TechnicMotorsport.com. Technic springs are available fast with same-day shipping on all orders completed by noon on business days. And Technic can send them anywhere. Shipping nationwide and internationally is no problem. TechnicMotorsport.com is super easy to navigate with a spring rate calculator, and they have a currency converter to make your purchase experience a smooth ride, just like their suspension components do for your moto. TechnicMotorsport.com, check it out. All right, things to note from the injury emergency department side of things. RJ Hampshire, this guy is built differently. Seriously, he's had returned from injuries that are just somewhat astonishing, not in the sense of like return to an immediate race win like what Jet Lawrence did over the weekend, but still astonishing in their own right in the time frame that he's done it. Now, RJ's sort of done it again. He's been having that wrist issue. So he broke that wrist at the Parla Press Day last year, missed out on most of the Nationals, returned. He's done Supercross, but he's had issues with it ever since. Now, he got that screwed plated to resolve that injury, but it's not been comfortable for him for quite some time. He took the measure after Supercross, so Saturday Supercross in Salt Lake. Monday had surgery to remove the plate and part of the bone at the end of his radius and where the scaphoid meets. Now, I'm not clear as to whether it was the radius part of the radius he's had shortened, or if it's part of the scaphoid. I believe it's the radius off what I know from these sorts of things, but let's find that out more when I get a chance to talk to him later in the season. But he's had that done on the Monday. He's back riding the following couple of days, and he's raced on the weekend at his first 450 race. The man's a nut job, honestly. Even just taking the plates out that they had done as well during that surgery, you leave holes in the bones where those screws have come out of. And those take at least 6 weeks to fill in, if not longer. So your bone is fragile in that area, and you are now risking a fracture just from hitting a bump, not even a crash. But RJ being RJ, I feel like he's got just some sort of different pain tolerance, or even a condition where he just doesn't feel pain. And I'm going to ask him that one later in the season when we get over to a couple of these rounds here. I'm hopefully going to track him down at some point and ask him these questions, because it's a little bit, I'm impressed and shocked at the same time, if that makes sense. All right, the other guys that returned from injury, Jorge Prado, Jett Lawrence, Eli Tomac, Hunter Lawrence, you would not have noticed at all that any of those guys had major injuries in Supercross only, not even 3 months ago for most of them. So, yeah, look, impressive, these guys. Their recovery and dedication to their rehab is insane. And as I said earlier when we were talking to the contractor, the difference between a professional athlete's dedication and access to physio and recovery methods is just next level compared to the regular punter out there. And so, 5 to 6 hours a day, 6 days a week versus 1 hour a day, maybe two times a week. Massive difference in your recovery time frame and recovery path. So these guys are dedicated to getting themselves back in shape, which is impressive. All right, now other things here, just quickly. Joey Savacci broke a finger in qualifying, smashing into a light on the side of the track, but he rode through. Likely will ride through the rest of the season with it. It's just the tip of a finger. As for Austin Faulkner, he got a laceration to his thigh when he got run over and hit in Moto 1 of the 250s, but he rode Moto 2, so he should be continuing on for the rest of the season as well with that, no problems. And then we go to a rider that is out for Hangtown. Styles Robinson made his return to racing after having some ongoing issues with his wrist that made him sit out Supercross as well. He's missed a lot of racing over the last 18 months to 2 years, I think it is now, with this wrist injury. And he's going to be out again, it seems. Now, not confirmed official, but the press release indicated that he sort of read between the lines that he's going to go and get it fixed again, which means just more time on the sidelines for Styles Robinson. So not really sure how this is going to go for him. I can't recall if he's on a 1 year or a 2 year deal with Triumph, but let's hope it's a 2 year, because this first year he's pretty much done nothing, unfortunately. Not even results-wise, just done nothing, in terms of being on track. So, yeah, not great for Styles Robinson. Hopefully, whatever it is that's going on with that wrist, he can get it sorted, because it could be the thing that ends his career, essentially, from what's going on so far. Now, other updates, Gavin Towers, Nate Thrasher, we're not really sure what happened with them, but we know that there's something going on with them. We believe Nate Thrasher is just going to be a bit bruised and beat up and back on track, but we'll confirm that later in the week. As for Gavin Towers, no information, so we'll find that out later on. Now, Chase Sexton, we touched on it earlier with the contractor when we're doing our other segments. That crazy crash that he had, the goggles that he lost. The information is sketchy. We've had people saying he was concussed. We've had people saying he's got neck whiplash. We've had other people saying that he's got a shoulder or an arm injury. The information is limited right now. The press release just said that he was going to go and get checked throughout the week, and he would advise later in the week about updates in terms of return to riding. So let's just see what comes out later in the week. And this is where I'm saying you're going to have to check out our YouTube channel, search AlwaysMoto on YouTube, subscribe. We're trying to get out these videos later in the week with the ins and outs for the rider status. Check that out, and you'll be able to find out what's happening there. But for now, that's our emergency department updates.
Hi, it's Travis Olander, and you are listening to AlwaysMoto Podcast.
Right, joining us this week on the AlwaysMoto Podcast, brought to you by TechnicMotorsport.com and Liat Moto Australia. He's a local Australian guy that's found himself in America recently, and he's riding for the RPM race team. He was number 196 on the weekend at Parla, but some of you might know him with a number 1 from some of his other series that he races in the west coast of America. It's Mason Semmens. How we doing, Mason?
Doing good. Thank you. Yeah, all going well. Thanks for having me on.
No, I appreciate the time, mate. And I saw that you're doing the national, and I thought, I might try and catch up with him. And then when you did what you did over the weekend, I'm like, I have to catch up with him. So I sent you the message, and luckily we connected, and here you are. But yeah, a bit of a awesome, interesting weekend for you just recently at the Parla National, mate.
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't, it definitely wasn't easy. It wasn't a last minute decision either. I've always wanted to do one, and I had a 450 sitting there that my team owner bought me. So it's 30 minutes from the house, and I went to work, got all my pro card and pro license, which was, it was a hassle to get, but we got there in the end, and put some time on the bike, got the suspension sorted out, and went and had some fun. And yeah, it was a good day, man. It was definitely an experience, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, like you just said there, there's more to a national than just submitting an entry and rolling the bike out. Like you said, you got to get a pro card, and it's not just a small local race or anything. There's transporters, and there's thousands of people in the crowd, and you got to get there and back and get passes for everybody, and it's a no small feat. So it wasn't like you just could rock up on a whim and do it. And you've put all this together, and it's turned out really well for you, mate.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's definitely, there's a lot more to it than just going off-road racing. I mean, at these events here in America, you can literally sign up at, 11 a.m. Sunday morning before you race at 1 o'clock. Like, you can sign up on the day as long as you get your AMA membership, and then, you can sign up and go for it. But yeah, these AMA events, I mean, there's a lot more to it. So I had to go through that whole process of, getting the card and a bit of organisation. But yeah, we made it happen and went out there, had some fun, and had a good day. And I'm actually going to head to Hangtown again this weekend to go do another one. So look forward to that.
That's pretty awesome. So now I saw there too, like obviously you're saying like you had a bit of fun, but it's got to be pretty little bit maybe take the breath away or a pinch myself moment when I saw there was a photo of you lined up on the gates there for one of the motos, or maybe it was the qualifying, but I think I saw Lawrence Prado, Lawrence Tomac. Like you're in the middle of those guys, mate. What's that like to roll out to?
Yeah, that was Moto 2. So if I qualified 30th, so I got a pretty bad gate pick for the Moto 1, and I was pretty far out wide, and then I got 18th in the first Moto, so I then had 18th gate pick. And everyone was kind of spread out, and I seen a spot right between Prado and Hunter Lawrence, and I was like, it wasn't really the best gate, to be honest. I was like, I've got to take that opportunity. So I stuck.
This might not happen again, he said.
Exactly. I stuck it in there, and I was talking to Hunter. He remembered me because we were teammates back in 2014, I think it was, at home. And so it was awesome. It was it's like a dream come true, honestly. I've been watching Tomac, for instance, for the last 10 years on TV, and there I am, just a couple of bikes down from him on the gate, starting with him, and it was awesome, man. It was a hell of an experience, and hopefully, it all goes well again this weekend. But just to be there on that line, and I said to my mechanic, I was like, hey, get a photo real quick. That opportunity might not ever come again, you know what I mean? So, I was stoked to be in there, and I had a ball. It was a good time. Yeah,
that photo is probably going to have to get blown up and put on the wall at the house when you get back to Australia one day, retired, mate, and you can show the kids that you did these things.
That's it.
Now, when the gate did drop, did you see those guys again, or was it pretty much the only point where you saw them when you were sitting next to them?
Seen them down the start straight when they were both in front of me, and then that was it.
Yeah.
I actually got not too bad of a start. I kind of wasn't too bad out the gate. Then Hunter and Prado both kind of squeezed me off. But, not bad into the first turn. I kind of botched the first turn a little bit, and I think I lost a few positions there. But, I didn't see anyone else until Jett left me with one lap to go. So.
Oh, well, hey, look, that's pretty impressive in itself too. I didn't realise that side of things. One, that you got 18th in both motos, wasn't it? And you get points for that. Like, to rock up out of the blue sort of thing and get points in an AMA National is pretty impressive. But, if you've only got lapped the once in 30 plus 2, that's also an achievement as well for a guy that's probably not used to doing that sort of intensity on a motocross track for that long,
Yeah, for sure. The intensity was definitely up there. I mean, the first moto, the 2 lap card come out, and I literally thought I was halfway. I was like, that went so fast, that moto, just because so much going on.
Yeah.
And then, I was kind of tight, and I started to feel really good with about 3 laps to go. And the 2 lap car come out. I was like, oh, there's only 2 laps left. I better send it for these 2 laps because I'm starting to feel good. And then I actually made a couple passes. I think I went from 20th to 18th in the last 2 laps. And so I didn't realize actually the second moto, Jett and Eli and everyone else but me, I guess, did an extra lap purely because Jett and Eli were pushing so hard during that moto. They actually did an extra lap in the first moto.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if you heard. I don't know if you heard that one or not, but they were talking about it on the coverage that all the years past. I think I've got the number right here, but they said that all the years past the motos were 14 laps. But of course, Jett and Eli were going so fast and like pushing each other, not backing off at all. They actually got to 15, which is the first time it happened at that venue. Obviously, track layouts and designs are slightly differently, but yeah, for them to crack that mark is impressive. And they only just got there, but yeah, that changed obviously the layout for how long the race was for everybody at that point.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I only heard that today myself, and the way them guys ride that track, man, it's seriously impressive. It's mind-boggling. It blows my mind, honestly, just the way that Jett, especially Jett, just how he picks apart the track and finds ways to get over them bumps and ruts, and it just looks effortless. It's just, that track was gnarly. There was no easy way around it, but he made it look easy. So it's impressive.
See, that's impressive in itself that you're saying that, because I'm sure there's a few thousand people that say the same thing about you when you go past them at your normal events, in terms of works, NGPCs, and even back, in Australian rounds and stuff when you're back here. Like, I'm sure there's people that say the same thing about you, but yeah, you're on that level for lots of people, and you're seeing that from a Jett and Eli.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just like you can see what's actually possible from them guys, what you can actually do on a dirt bike. And like I said, it's just even just sitting around yesterday, just reflecting on the weekend, I think Jett was 11 seconds faster than me in qualifying. And I was like, 11 seconds on a 2-minute 20 lap time. That's a fair bit. But yeah, I mean, he is the world's best rider, I believe, ever right now. So it's just cool to be out there racing them guys, experiencing it and learning. Honestly, it's just it's made me a better rider, a better person, and now I know just what it does take to be able to get up there. So it's cool.
Yeah, definitely. Now, who were some of the names that you maybe got to battle with throughout? Like, I can see the overall results here, and sort of just in front of you is like a Malcolm Stewart, Colt Nichols, but they've obviously got different results here from Moto 2 and stuff. But was there names that you were battling and you're like, geez, I can't believe I'm with this guy? Or were we like, oh, I just passed that guy, sucked in sort of thing? Like,
yeah, so it was actually funny because one guy come up to me after Moto 1, he goes like, oh, how'd it feel to pass Malcolm Stewart? And I was like, I didn't think I passed him. He goes, yeah, I think you did. And, you were in front of him for a couple of laps. I was like, oh, I didn't even realize, just because there's so much going on in the first couple of laps, So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I think I was riding with like Freddie Noren and Derek Drake and, sort of them guys who have been at it for a fair few years now. And I think Freddie Noren's actually getting up there with the most starts in the 450 class. So yeah, just being up there with them guys and racing and, battling. I would have liked to have got some better starts and, been around the top 15 off the start to see, where I was in that bracket. But, man, I was just stoked to be out there racing. And my goal going to the weekend was just to have fun. I didn't really put a number out there to achieve. I just wanted to go see where I was at. And, 18th was 17th overall was the result. So, to achieve that, get some points. And, like I said, most importantly, I had fun. And, yeah, it was it was good. It was a good time.
Now, you say you didn't have a number on it as such, but like, do you even go there and go like, I just want to make the main events? Like for the Aussie listeners that might not realize, but you really have to actually qualify in to this. Unlike our national motocross series, where basically you put an entry in, there's plenty of room on the gate that you're in. You actually have probably, I think it was like 70 odd entries for the 450 class at Parla, and you've got to actually get a time in that top 36 to make it straight through. And then you've got to do an LCQ race for those last 4 spots on the gate. So like, did you expect to be in that, or did you think you were going to be having to, LCQ race it and maybe not even make those events?
Yeah, well, I didn't really know where I was at for just a qualifying lap time. And then after the first session, I think I was 31st combined qualifying. So I was like, oh, this second one, I'm going to have to send it because I'm assuming some people are going to go faster. And I just didn't want to be any further back than what I was already. Yeah. Yep. So I put a better lap time in. I got down to 29th. And, honestly, qualifying was the most stressful part of my day. Especially between the first and second one, I was like, I'm going to have to just send it. It's just what they do, scrub a bit harder, hit some stuff a bit smoother or whatever, and just really, try a good lap time in. I think I dropped a second off my qualifying one. So that got me into 29th. But yeah, I was pretty stoked when the qualifying sessions were done and I was heading to the moto. I didn't have to go through the LCQ because that's for a big day. It's already a long, big day. But if you had to squeeze that LCQ in between qualifying and the motos, that's just too much. So
yeah,
I'm glad I didn't have to do that. But yeah.
And the pressure's off at that point too. Like you made it sort of thing. So then you can just sort of relax and focus on doing what you can do in the race. And yeah, so look, it's an achievement, man. It's impressive. So yeah, well done. But I guess now you said you're going to Hangtown this weekend as well. So one, you got a bit of a drive to get up there. But two, I gather the goal might have maybe shifted a little here.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that today. Now I know where I'm kind of at. I think, maybe there's a little bit more expectations going to this weekend, but I'm trying not to kind of think about that. I just want to go get it for the experience again and, try go score some more points. I know there's going to be a couple more off-road riders coming to do this one. Dante Oliveira and Dare Di Martel. So they're the two top 450 guys in the series I usually race, the GPs and the work. So they're going to be there. And yeah, I'm sure, Cooper Webb, Colt Nichols, all them guys are going to probably get two good motos in, and wonder if Chase is coming back as well. So there's going to be some more competition. But yeah, I just want to go, get the experience again and enjoy it and hopefully get some more points. But yeah, signed up this morning, ready to go.
Oh, nice. So you just you're van lifing it at these races for these ones and traveling up yourself. So what's your movements to get to this next one?
Yeah, so for this weekend, RPM have actually got a team van that my mechanic drives to all the races. So I went and picked that up from him this morning. So me and Ben Kearns, I'm not sure if you know Ben.
I do.
He's another Australian. He's been staying with me in California for the last 5 weeks. And yeah, it's just me and him heading up. Just solo trip, boys trip. We're heading north in the van. And yeah, me and him are going to tackle it on Saturday. So yeah, just me and him in the van. We'll probably camp at the track and yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Just rocking it old school, like you just never left the country, mate. Just camping at the tracks and just in a van. Yeah, that's exactly how it should be. But no, look, I found it funny. A reason I said about the expectations and stuff too, like obviously yours, you realize what you can do. But I thought it was quite funny listening to some of the American media outlets talking about the results after the weekend, and they sort of get to you in the list and they'd be like, I don't know who Mason Semmens is. And I'm like, how do you not at least have a little bit of a look-see and go, oh, yeah, he's actually racing works. He's a champion in the works and the NGPC series and, put the one and one together and go, oh, yeah, he's probably got some pace. Like, did you hear any of that, like that talk that nobody knew who you were and like, oh, who's this guy with the 196 on his bike? Or has it been now that you've done it, like you're getting these messages going, hey, well done, we knew you could do it sort of thing? I gather it's probably more the first part where they didn't know who you were.
Yeah, it's like you said, some people probably didn't know who I was purely because just coming from off-road and I've never done a national or whatever. But yeah, one of my mates sent me a screen recorder, a message of AusProMX saying Mason Semmens, he's an Australian, number 196, got 17th overall. Don't know who he is, and I still don't know who he is, but good job. And I was like, oh, cool, that's cool. I'm happy with that. But yeah, I don't mind flying under the radar. Honestly, I'm happy just to do my own thing, be a privateer out the back at these races, and just go have fun and surprise people. I guess I think that's cool to me. So yeah, that's doesn't bother me as such that people don't know who I am. But for sure, from the weekend, it's I've definitely got a lot of messages and gained a lot of followers and stuff and all that. I've gained a lot of recognition from just doing this race and getting a top 20. So yeah, it's cool, and yeah, I'm stoked with that.
Well, if you get more points this weekend in Hangtown, which obviously we hope you do, but if you do that, I'm sure that there'll be a few more people coming around to find out more about Mason Semmens. So, this interview here, I've jumped in hopefully first and got something, but the rest of the guys, I'm sure you'll be a bit more broadcast around the following week if you do similar in Hangtown. So yeah, no, it could change your image a little bit over there a lot.
Yeah, no, we'll see. We'll see if we get some more points. And, I definitely like to get to some more motocross races, and, it'd be cool for maybe 1 year in the future just to commit to the whole season and make it happen and see what we can do. And, we'll have to talk that through with the team and whatever. But, yeah, I think, doing these motocross races and, just getting the name out there and, just gaining the experience, like I said, you can't get that experience anywhere else, racing them tracks, racing them guys and the pace. And, it's all just going to make me a better rider. And that's why I'm heading to Hangtown this weekend. So.
Yeah, now on that too, but like people obviously that do know who you are, probably know you more as that off-road guy, like you said, one from the Australian side of things when you were on KTM and Gas here, and then now in this work series, and even you did some GNCCs, I believe, as well, sort of a couple of years back. So like you have this big off-road chunk of time in the most recent part of your career, and that's probably where most people know you, but you do actually have a motocross background, as most of us that end up in off-road do. But yeah, you do have a bit of a history there in motocross. And I think, if I got it right, you've got a national title in the juniors for motocross?
Yeah, I won 3. So I won 2 in 2016 and then 1 in 2017.
And these, I think if I looked at this correctly, did I see like a Nathan Crawford and a Rhys Budd on the podiums there with you?
Definitely Rhys Budd. I never raced Nathan Crawford.
Okay.
Bailey Mugwitz was usually the guy, or Regan Duffy.
So those names are guys that are like up there in our series, now in MX2, MX1. So you obviously have some capability on a motocross track, mate. This isn't like an unusual thing for you, like the first time you found your way out of the trees and, oh my God, there's a jump, You've done this before.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, when I first started riding and racing, it was off-road. MCICV Club was who I started with when I was 4 or 5 years old. And then, started doing some club day motocross events. And, purely from the age of 5 till 19, 18, I was, mostly motocross. I always did the one-off off-road event on AORC, or always did Hatter as well since I was 12. Mm-hmm. Majority of my career so far has been motocross, especially through juniors and bit into seniors. So, I've got a lot of experience racing motocross, and that's kind of, the fun kind of went away for me in 2018 and 2019 when I was getting injured a bit, trying to, make something out of under 19s and into motocross, and a few injuries, the fun went away, and that's why I sort of went off-road, because I did enjoy the off-road events that I was doing. Mm-hmm. And then, went to GNCCs, and couple of the same things happened there. I was getting injured. I didn't really have much fun doing the GNCCs. And then, I think I've really found a home now in California, racing these works and NGPC series, because I kind of put them as a big motocross race. You do a gate drop start, there's half a motocross track, half off-road track. And, I feel like it suits me really well. So there's a bit of a balance, I like to have fun racing my dirt bike, and, it's these motocross events that I'm doing now are super fun too. So I'm enjoying it, but always come from a motocross background, and I heard a smart man once say to my dad, Ben Grabham, you got to ride everything to become a good rider. So I try to ride as much as I can, every discipline, and it's fun when you can go ride an off-road race and feel comfortable, go to a motocross race, feel comfortable. It's just good to have an all-round balance. So I'm lucky and fortunate enough to have done that my whole life, being able to ride and race everything. So it's cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think where you've just said there, you've hit the right sweet spot. I've done one of the works rounds. I've done a few of the NGPC rounds a few years back when I was actually over there in California. And compared to that GNCC thing, which is like that 3-hour consistent pace, woods riding, tighter, those rounds are more like a motocross. And obviously on the West Coast, there's a lot more open space. And some of the tracks that they put together for that are wicked, in terms of the fact that they are just, like you said, a motocross track almost for a whole, like they end up 15-20 minute loop times depending on where you're at. But it is a bit more motocrossy. So I think for you, what you described in terms of your upbringing, you've hit the sweet spot, and obviously it's working. You're a defending champ in both of those series for the Pro 2 class, so they call it over there, which is a 250 in last year for both those. So and things are going well recently. I see that you've gotten the last one for the works, you were second in that series, and the last one for the NGPC at Parla, you're first. So things are going well on that side of things, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going well again this year. And won both series last year, and had a little hiccup halfway through the year, breaking my foot. But yeah, luckily recovered from that, come back and won. So, and yeah, everyone's going well again this year. And yeah, like I said, it's just about finding what you enjoy racing. And, because if you're not enjoying your racing and having fun riding your dirt bike, I don't think there's any point doing it, So I'm loving what I'm doing right now. I enjoy going to the races and, I'm having a ball doing it. So it's, having fun and winning races. It's pretty cool. And, it's all going well for me. I'm pretty stoked on it. And yeah, just finding that sweet spot and finding that balance in what I'm doing. And yeah, mixing up these motocross races too. And, doing one-off events and stuff also just keeps it fun. And, yeah, it's all going well, so I'm looking forward to keeping it going.
Now, what is next other than Hangtown, which is this weekend for you? What's next on the schedule for Mason Semmens?
Yeah, so Hangtown this weekend, and then the weekend after, Glen Helen are actually doing a 10-hour endurance event because they do like a full series. They got I think it's a 8-hour, 10-hour, and a 24-hour or something like that.
Yeah.
Going to go to the 10-hour with a mate, and weekend after that's NGPC, and then I'll be home. So yeah, a fair bit of racing coming up. 3 weekends of racing, and then I'll be home. So that's what's on for me. Unfortunately, no Hatter Desert race, but we'll get back to that hopefully next year.
Yeah, look, it's nice that you do sort of keep that like Hatter as like a thing that you try and get back home for and still be a part of the Australian racing. But obviously I said to us before you hit record that you had an injury last year preparing for it with the foot, and you're actually taking some time to sort that out this time when Hatter's on. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. Unfortunately, last year getting ready for Hatter, I think I was maybe a week or 2 out. Yeah. Just had a little crash. It wasn't honestly a major crash, and I dislocated my ankle and broke my foot, and now it's affected me 2 years for Hatter. Now I've got to go home, get surgery again, just get some plates out. It's not a big surgery. It's just to remove some hardware. And it's just the time I got home, got surgery, try to prepare for Hatter. It's just going to be too rushed. So the main focus is for sure here in America, and I want to make sure I'm healthy enough to come back and, try to close these championships off and continue forward with that. But yeah, Hatter's my favourite race in the world. I hate to miss it. It's the best race. It's the atmosphere. Everyone's hyped about Hatter, and it's definitely a race I'm going to come back and do in the near future, just when the timing's right. So. Yeah,
it was. I said to you before we hit record, it was one of my favourite events until I beat the crap out of myself there. But I still look at it and think that it is one of the best motorcycle events that we have in this country because of the sheer volume of entries, but two, the track is so unique. The town that you end up in out there, Mildura, it's just a unique sort of area and setup, and how it all works with the event that they have on the Friday night beforehand to sort of kick it off in terms of the scrutineering, and all the bikes are on display, and they have sort of some other side shows going on, some music and whatnot. It's an event. It's not just a race. So yeah, it is a pretty big thing for Australian motorcycling, that particular event.
Yeah, definitely. And, all the kind of the Americans who I'm mates with here, they're like, oh, what's one good race that, I've ever come to Australia to go to do? And I always just say it's Hatter.
Yeah.
It's Hatter,
Yeah.
Go to Hatter. It's 4 hours, but it's a long race. It hurts at the end, but it's a race that you get to, once you recover from it, come Tuesday, Wednesday, it's like, I can't wait for next year already, Especially that first lap is just like, there's nothing like it. I remember in 2021 when me and Milner prologued 1 and 2, and the first lap we were pushing each other, and it's just like you let free out there. You can just go mad and speedway in corners, and it's just it's still the funnest dirt bike racing I think I've ever done is the first lap of Hatter. It's just nothing like it.
Look, my first lap of Hatter experience is probably very different from yours when I'm starting in that sort of 90 to 100-ish range, and the track's already beat to shit, and I'm getting pelted with Rhys. So look, first I would kill to have the track by myself out 1-2 at the front there, but it's still smooth for one lap at least.
Yeah, that's it. It's so surprising how rough that track gets right away. You come around for the second lap and you're like, oh, geez, this is going to be a long 4 hours. So
yeah, it's very different for that point. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No, but it's definitely an event to be a part of if anyone's listening and wants to get to something in Australia. That's the one to probably go to as a one-off thing. So, awesome. Now, Look, Mason, obviously, this weekend's going to be a big one for you, but everyone probably in Australia now knows that you're heading to these rounds and be back behind you supporting you. So hopefully you can put in another strong showing on the motocross side of your skills, mate.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, we'll get up there and never been to Hangtown, so yeah, it'll be straight into qualifying on a track I don't really know, which is going to be interesting. But yeah, just going to have to send it, I suppose, like them guys do, and see what we can do. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Just going to gain that experience again and yeah, get into it.
Look, I'll give you the hot tip on it at Hangtown. I've raced that one for an amateur day before a national. That start, don't get on the outside of it if you can help it, because it's a lot of people coming from the inside and they're going fast when they get there and they can't stop. So.
Yeah, I've watched videos, and the first video I watched was some guy just cartwheeling. So I was like, oh, hopefully I can get somewhere around the middle of the inside. So
yeah, that's
qualifying is very important. Yeah.
Definitely. No, well, look, man, good luck this weekend. Hopefully another point scoring day. If not, just enjoy it because it's a pretty awesome venue up there as well. But yeah, very impressed with what you did at Parla, and thanks for making some time on the Always Moto podcast.
No worries. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate your time.
Hey, this is Caden Amrine, riding for Monster Energy, Lucas Oil, KTM, Team Tata Racing, and you're listening to the Always Moto podcast.
All right, we've got 2 interviews this week on the show. We've got a massive show. We're covering the Australian stuff. We're covering the American stuff, but this part's the Australian, the AusProMX. We've got on the line, he's lucky to be alive, some of us might say, after what happened to him on the weekend, but we've got the Penrite Racing Empire Kawasaki, the number 22, the new 22 on the green. It's Rhys Budd. How are we doing, Rhys?
Doing very well, thanks. How are we?
I'm good. And like I said in that intro, you're lucky to be alive, mate. You got a bit of a wild one happen to you on the weekend that was probably unexpected and not even seen by you until it was basically happening.
Yes, certainly. Yeah, like you said, I didn't see anything. I more felt the impact. So looked like it to be able to walk away, to be completely honest. So unfortunately, it was just a racing incident. So to start it off, I had a little crash of my own, which wasn't ideal. And then obviously, as I was picking my bike up and getting ready to jump back on, I was accidentally cleaned up by another rider, and which is no one's fault really. Like I going up that section, the sun was blinding. So it was a very tough spot to see. So. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But like I said, I'm likely to be walking away right now with a couple of bumps and bruises and stuff like that. So for the most part, pretty healthy. And it wasn't the way we wanted to end the weekend, but stuff happens. We just got to regroup, heal up, and keep chipping away. Yeah, look, it's obviously a DNF is never nice, but like considering that you've just switched over to the team. To the Empire side of things and the new bike and everything. The Moto 1 was a positive step for you, I think, at least from outside in. Obviously not being on the bike for too long now. It's been, 4 weeks or something, give or take. Positive start to the experience apart from that little incident, which obviously had nothing to do. You couldn't change the outcome of that one. Yeah, certainly. I thought it was definitely a positive weekend for sure. I've had 3 weeks on the bike, so I thought it was a good weekend. Moto 1 was a pretty good step. There was a couple of things that that weren't 100% with the bike in the first one, and we made some adjustments for the next one. And honestly, felt a little bit better and was running a pretty good spot and keeping my own against those boys. And felt like I was riding really well. So I was happy. So like I said, plenty of positives to take away from the first major race with the new team and all that stuff. And honestly, it's been an absolute blast to work with all the new guys in the short amount of time we've had together. So look, I was very happy with how my riding was going, it's been a really good few weeks on the bike. So like I said, we just got to heal up and keep chipping away, and I just feel really good on the new bike, and it just feels like I'm at home. So we'll just keep chipping away and come back a little bit stronger.
So obviously the question everybody wants to know is that like the switch in that's occurred for yourself this season, it's sort of an odd time. Was there a particular reason as to why you did it now and maybe not end of motocross or before the season started? Obviously that probably wasn't a part of it, but like why at this point in time and end up having to miss a round of the series that you're mainly a part of? that it worked out right now that you ended up with Empire?
Yeah, look, it's not a situation you see very often, that's for sure, and it's it was a very difficult position. I was kind of in, and I just felt like I was really struggling, and just look, I just thought, at this stage of my career, if I kind of keep going the way I was, I'm not going to have a ride, and I love racing dirt bikes, and I want to keep doing that for as long as I can. And I just felt like I was at a point where I just couldn't get any better, and I just kind of needed to, try something, and obviously it was a big risk, no doubt. Like I said, you don't see it very often, and and I just thought to myself, well, if I keep going the way I go, or I take this big risk, so I went the risky option, and honestly, I feel like it's worked out the best. I feel like, like I said, we get along really, really well with the team. I'm gelling with the bike for only being 3 weeks on it, so, and to be almost running in the top 5 first go around. So look, I'm happy with my decision. I feel like it's the right move, and I just want to keep getting better and stronger, and I want to put the Empire bike on the podium before the end of the series. So I really look forward to the challenge, and just proving to myself and everyone around me that I made the right decision, because obviously there was a lot of questions about it, for sure, so I just want to go prove that it was the right decision.
Now, the Empire guys too, like obviously all that stuff there is suiting. It's a, like you said, it's a risk for you, but it's suiting what you're trying to achieve in this short space of time that you've got for a career in motocross. But the Empire guys are obviously making steps and strides forward as well. Like, they've got that new shop that they've been putting up on the socials that they're fitting out, and trying to build themselves into one of the top teams in Australia. Obviously, we've got our Honda guys and our CDR Yamaha guys that are long-standing top of the tree there. But I feel like the Empire guys are starting to try and bridge that gap and be on that same level, and maybe that's just sort of aligning with something that was attractive to you to be a part of in moving forward here.
Yeah, I think they're growing each and every year, and they're really trying their hardest to be bigger and better. And I think they're bringing in amazing sponsors, and these bloody dogs. They're bringing in amazing sponsors each and every year, and I just feel like they're getting bigger and better. And honestly, I'm just super stoked to be a part of it, and hopefully keep growing with them for a little time ahead. So it's an awesome opportunity, and I was lucky enough to spend a few days down there, a few days leading up to the weekend. So to kind of get to hang out, I test the race bike, and got to see the shop and everything, and see what they're all about. And honestly, just love what I've seen and what they're trying to do. And obviously they did everything I needed and stuff like that. So very happy to be a part of the team. And like I said, I just want to keep growing and building with these guys, and hopefully put them up on the box a couple of times before the end of the year.
Now, I gather this is obviously a fairly quickly arranged situation here for the rest of the motocross season, but are you confirmed to be with them for the Australian Supercross whenever that dates and stuff get announced for later in this season, or have we not even talked that far ahead yet?
Yep. So, lucky enough, the deal is for the rest of the season. So I get the finish up motocross, and then kick off a brand new Supercross season with them. So, I'm glad that is worked out the way it is, because like I said, I really am loving this Kawasaki, and I just look forward to starting a fresh championship with them, and hopefully being a little bit closer to the point of the end.
Nice to have something, reasonably solid there to get you through the rest of the season, and try and build with it, and obviously probably negotiate some other things if things go as well as you hope, and like you said, get it on the podium and try and stay there for a few years yet to come. But obviously, like we just mentioning there, you're trying to hit that podium there with the new bike and stuff. We've got basically 4 rounds left of the motocross side of things. Yeah. The guys at the front, Brody Conley, Ryder Kingsford, they sort of established themselves and potentially even gapped themselves a little bit from the field here in the MX2. Not so much to the same degree as MX1 guys with Beaton and Webster, but there is a noticeable sort of, they have that level that the rest of you guys are sort of trying to fight to get to. What's it going to take to find that for you? And obviously part of this is getting familiar with the Kawasaki at this point.
Yeah, look, it's going to take a little bit, no doubt. Those boys are riding really well and stuff like that. So, Connolly is just pretty consistent, and you don't see him make very many mistakes whatsoever. So he's obviously very dominant right now, and Ryder is obviously riding really well himself. I feel like he makes a little bit more mistakes here and there, as you've seen on the weekends. So we just need to try capitalize on some of those, and we just need to keep building and simply go a little bit faster. That's plain and simple. But obviously we've got to take it step by step to get to that point. It's not something you do overnight. It's something you just work on week in, week out, and hopefully we get to that point. But like I said, I feel like since I've been on this Kawasaki, I feel like I'm getting better, and I feel like I've gotten a little bit faster and stronger and smarter and all that stuff. So it's a time thing, no doubt. So it's definitely not impossible. That we're all human at the end of the day. So I know I'm capable to get to that point. It's just need to make it all happen. I look forward to some hard pack rounds. So I feel really good on the bike, and that those boys come up to do a couple Sunshine State races 2 weeks before the weekend, and I felt like I was battling with them. I was in the mix a little bit, so I'm happy where I'm at, and like I said, just day by day get a little bit better. It's all the 1%ers that add up, and hopefully we can get there. So we got another month till the next round, and we're just going to keep building, getting better.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously there's been a couple little tweaks to the season series this year along the way too. Like we're now going to go to Canberra, not Nowra. That's going to be a hard pack track. And you've got a couple of Queensland rounds to finish off, which you'll probably be more comfortable with being a Queenslander yourself. I gather you're probably looking forward to the second half of the season for a multitude of reasons, but just purely probably less travel as well in there somewhere along the lines.
Yeah, certainly. No, there's definitely a bunch of reasons. It's going to be a better second half. A lot less travel, which is nice. Obviously I got the wife and my son who come to each and every race with me, so it'll be a little bit easier on them and all that stuff. But obviously we're a little bit more familiar with the tracks up here. We don't necessarily ride Warwick and Toowoomba all that much. We've done a couple races here and there. They're not really tracks we ride too often. So obviously QMP we do a little bit here and there. So I just think coming into those harder pack rounds, it's going to be a little bit better for myself, and I'll be able to shine that little bit more. And I think the change to Canberra was the right choice. I don't think, personally, Nowra is the best place to hold a national. So I think we had Canberra National a few years ago, and was not too bad at all. So I think it's the right choice, and will be a better racetrack. So definitely looking forward to that. And like I said, I just want to keep getting better and better, and put my Empire Kawasaki up on the podium. Yeah,
I think you touched on something there about the Nowra side of things, because I had that thought too when they announced Nowra as one of the nationals for this year. It's over the last 5-10 years, it's sort of tightened up and become very jumpy, and not so much a national racetrack anymore like it was way back when. And I don't think it was a suitable choice to try and get 30, 40 guys, depending on how many entries you get per round for each class. But having those guys trying to battle out and get around each other on that sort of narrower track wasn't probably a great idea. I've got no idea if that was the reason behind it, or if there was a multitude of other reasons, but Canberra's going to be a nice substitute. I still don't think Canberra's overly that big, but it's definitely a bigger, broader track to work with from a national point of view for a national race.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I don't know the reasoning behind the change. But I know just from watching videos and even, spending a little bit of time there a few years ago before I moved up to Queensland, it's definitely a very, very tight track, super jumpy. Honestly, the dirt there is really good. Like that, on a practice day, if you're just riding dual motors on your own, it's a really good track. The dirt is awesome, but it's a very tough racetrack. So many switchbacks and turning back on itself and all that stuff. So Canberra is much more open. I think a lot more opportunity to race and make passes and things like that. So definitely looking forward to that change. And I had a pretty good ride there last time we were there a few years ago. So look, I think it's the best move for the championship. So yeah, look forward to getting down there and getting after it.
Yeah, of course. Now, I've got one last question for you, and it's sort of a what if or when and whatnot. But you've been in the 250 series for quite a while now, and obviously making this step over to the Cowie, going to be a part of it for the rest of this season at least. But at what point do you want to start maybe even looking to the 450 class, or is that even something that you've crossed your mind? I know you did that one ride a couple of years back with Club MX at the World Supercross as a real fill-in out of the blue thing, but is there a 450 in Rhys Budd's future anytime soon, or have you not even got to that point, or you've never even had the conversation about it really?
No, it's been on my mind a lot. I definitely want to move up to 450 within the next year or two. If something pops up, I want to make that transition. I don't want to be in the 250 class for forever. Like I'm still fairly young. I'm still only 23 years old, so okay. I've got a bit of time. But ideally, I want to step up to the 450 when the opportunity comes to me. So if it pops up, could race one next year. But I don't know at this stage. So if something pops up, I'll be more than happy to take it. But just got to take it year by year, I guess, and work out what's going to be best for myself and obviously my family and stuff at this stage. That's what's most important right now. So just got to do what's right and just focus on what I'm doing right now. And if something pops up, and we'll go from there. But just take it day by day and keep having fun, riding my dirt bike and enjoying time with my family. And that's all I'm doing right now, and just having a good time.
It's always one of those ones that like some guys never even consider going up, but I was hoping that you'd be one that's been looking. You just maybe not have had the opportunity to do that yet, but hopefully soon. By the sounds of it, would be a good step in the right direction. And one more thing, I just thought of as you're talking about it. But how is that little man of yours? Is he up walking yet? He must be getting close to that point in time.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's pretty close. He's zooming around the house, crawling around, and he stands up on things. And he's moving around a little bit too much for comfort. But I can't imagine it's going to be too much longer. So no, he's doing really well, and it's honestly such a blessing there to have a child like him cruising around. So it's just a cool thing to be a dad. Obviously very young, but it's I'm a big kid as well, so we're very much alike. So no, I'm absolutely loving it, and my wife is killing it as well. So
nice.
It's been awesome having them at the track each and every weekend, and they support me more than a lot of people do. So it's really cool, and we have an awesome family, and everything's going super well. So like I said, just having a good time, and just pretty blessed to be in this position.
Have you had to baby-proof the house yet? Put up like child gates and stuff so the little man can't get into certain areas, or you just been okay so far?
Oh yeah, no, we definitely need to, because he's running amok. He's getting into things, opening drawers.
Yeah,
we've just been a bit slack on that side of things, so we need to get ahead on it. But he's getting into everything and being a bit of a naughty boy, but that's kids. So
look,
not yet. But we'll get
quick trip to Bunnings to buy a couple of drawer locks and door locks and all that sort of stuff, and you'll be sorted. So
definitely need to. Yep, that's all we need to do, and we'll be right. So but no, he's happy and he loves doing it. So we're all good.
Yeah, nice, awesome. Well, look, Rhys, awesome to see you out and about again after missing that one round, but back onto the circuit with the Penrite Racing team there and Empire Kawasaki. So looking forward to seeing you at round 5, and like we said earlier, just seeing what this second half of the season brings for you, because I feel like you got a pretty good opportunity to get some good results here throughout the last 4 rounds. So let's see what you can do, and appreciate you making some time for us as always again on the AlwaysMoto podcast, mate.
Appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much for your time, and hopefully we'll see you very shortly.
This is Derek Kelly, and you're listening to the AlwaysMoto podcast.
All right, guys and girls, we are back. Thanks for sticking around on the AlwaysMoto podcast. Thanks for listening to both those interviews there. We ran through, obviously, having Mason Semmens and Rhys Budd on the show this week. Massive show for us to have 2 in the 1 week, but it was worthy to have both of them after watching Mason's performance at Parla. Had to reach out to him, and it was awesome to get straight in touch with him and have him jump at the chance to come on the show. So that was awesome. And I'd lined up Rhys for a couple of weeks now to get him on after his news with Empire Kawasaki. So it was awesome to catch up with him, and definitely looking forward to seeing what he can do in the coming rounds, as we just mentioned at the end of that interview there about, you know, the new bike, the tracks that are coming up are going to be more suited to his style and location as well for travel. So there's potential for Rhys to be, you know, on the podium here and maybe even shake up those two guys we're talking about, Brodie Conley and Ryder Kingsford at the top of the class at the moment. But just be good to see that green machine up there, you know, on the podium here at some point, whether it's a moto finish or an overall. Yeah, looking forward to seeing what he can do. But let's talk about the racing that's happening this weekend and how to watch it. Obviously, the Pro Motocross is on again for the AMA, and we're watching that via our Super Motocross video pass for our international viewers. And that pass is working awesome again for the outdoor season. They've really refined this down. Very happy with the process and how we're getting to watch it via this app nowadays. It's come a long way in a short space of time, thankfully. Now, Hangtown this weekend, Race Day Live is going to kick off at 3 a.m. Sunday morning, and the main race program is going to kick off at 6 a.m. Sunday as well. So you'll be up nice and early to watch those things when the racing kicks off there in Hangtown. Now, all these bikes, we're going to be heading out on the track. You've got to have foot pegs on them, and maybe you need some new pegs for your bikes, or maybe you just want something a bit more functional, a bit more blingy. Well, then you need pivot pegs. They are wide, strong, and functional, and they help you move around on the bike and improve your leg positioning and reduce the wear of your boot soles. That's a big one for me. I eat through boots without pivot pegs, so they've saved me a lot of money because my boots I don't have to be replaced every other weekend. So head over to pivotpegs.com and get yourself some for your bike. All right, weather in Hangtown, it's going to be hot this weekend. Now, it was pretty okay weather-wise at Parla from a temperature point of view. Obviously, it was sunny. It's California. It usually is. But for this Northern California round, it's going to be hot. It's sunny. It's 16 to 37 degrees is the expected min and max for this weekend's on Saturday. It's going to be sunny, so it's going to be hot. And I dare say that 37 is going to be right when those second motos are kicking off. So it's going to be an uncomfortable day if you're in gear on the start line from a temperature point of view. So you're going to have to be hydrated this weekend, that's for sure. All right. Other notable events this weekend around Australia, we've got round 3 of the New South Wales Motocross State titles from Maitland this weekend. Yes, I'll be on the commentating team again, doing their live stream across their YouTube and Facebook channel. So check that out when you get a chance. Coverage goes from about 8:30 in the morning till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Racing both days, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday's mostly the junior classes. Sunday, mostly the senior classes, so check that out. We've got plenty of good riders getting around the track there, and Maitland will provide an interesting race if we can all get there, depending on how these floodwaters are going still. Things are still going down in the area to get to Maitland Motocross track at the moment. It's a bit of an issue. There's some road closures to get there. Hopefully we get some good weather and things can dry up by then. From an off-road point of view, it's the Australian Enduro Championship this weekend in Tintinara in South Australia. So our man Anthony from Finance My Bike will be there, getting around that track there. More than likely a sand track, but we'll find out for sure when we talk to him after the weekend. So looking forward to seeing the results from that. And then the following weekend, it's the big one. It's the Finke Desert Race, the 6th and 9th of June. The 50th running of the Finke Desert Race is this year. So interested to see how that goes. And we'll hear, again, Anthony, Finance My Bike. He's going to be out there taking that KTM of his around, not the Stark this time. He's not going to make it on the Stark for the Finke, that's for sure. But yeah, we'll be interested to hear his feedback on it. I think that's his first time out there, so keen to see how that goes. But yeah, plenty of action happening around the country here over the next few weeks. And if you've got an event that you want to have us talk about here on the podcast, send us a DM, let us know when it is and where it is, and we can promote it there for you. All right, but that's it for this week's show. Plenty of riding to do, plenty to do and watch this weekend. Thanks to you guys and girls out there for listening. Don't forget to send in those T-shirt orders to support the show. info@alwaysmoto.com. Follow us on social media to stay up to date with all things moto, particularly the injuries. Search Always Moto and then follow and subscribe. On your podcast, make sure you rate us via your Spotify apps. I know you can do that on your Spotify platforms. If your other podcast player that you're listening on does it, please rate us as well. It just helps us show up in the algorithm for more people to come along and find out the good things that are happening over here on Always Moto. Don't forget to check out the written articles over on fullnoise.com.au. But that's it for another show. Thanks to Elite Moto Australia, TechnicMotorsport.com, PivotPegs.com, Competitive Edge Performance, and Tech 167 3D Printing for the show support. Thanks to the wife and kids for letting me get this done again, and we will see you at the track.